Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today we're going to replace the electric fan for the radiator. So we're going to lift the car into the air, and I like to do it this way and put the jack stand here towards the front, so you're going to lift with the jack a little bit towards the back. So we're going to start with our 10mm socket here, and we're going to remove 3 nuts on the expansion tank. So there's one here, there's one on this side, and then there's also one in the back, and the one in the back has a little rod that's sticking up through it, so you'll just open it up like that. Now there isn't a lot of room in here, but an option you can try doing if you don't want to remove the expansion tank completely and have to drain the coolant out of it, what you can try to do is loosen up the expansion tank so that it's off of the studs like we did, and then what you'll have to do is go down from underneath and slightly lift on the fan itself because it sits down in 2 notches. So you'd have to slightly lift up and then pull it back and drop it down out of the bottom of the car. So you'd have to lift the car in the air for that one if you want to try that. But what I'm going to do is just show you how to drain the coolant in the expansion tank only, and then there's a lot of room for us to pull the radiator or fan out of the top, and then we just have to add coolant when we're done and burp the system. Okay, so what we're going to do here is remove this line here, and you're going to want to have a catch pan down under the car to catch some coolant. We're going to lose what's in the expansion tank at least. And so then on the bottom side here, there's another hose coming through, and so you're going to get some pliers and compress that clamp. And then sometimes it's easier to reach it from the bottom side like this. So you'll just grab that and wiggle it down and then pull the hose off and catch it in the pan.
Okay, then twist that hose off of the bottom here where it came on. And now we can just remove this expansion tank and set it out of the way. Next, we're going to undo this plug, and it has a little tab on the top and the bottom. So I've already put a screwdriver on the bottom, and so here it is on the top. We're just going to put this in here to lift up, and with both of them lifting up, you can pull this plug apart. Okay, so that just slid out like that. Next, take an 8mm wrench, and we're going to disconnect this one here, and there's one on the opposite side over here that holds the fan in place. Okay, this one's a little tricky with all these AC lines in there, so I used an extension with that 8mm socket. And this wiring harness is connected to the fan. Right there, there's just one little clip to it, so we're just going to put some needle nose pliers behind it and pop it off. Okay, so we just pried that out with some needle nose pliers, just coming off that harness. Okay, and now the fan will lift straight out. You just might have to wiggle it to get it past a few things. Alright, just lifted the fan out and set it aside.
Now if you didn't remove the expansion tank entirely and you want to try it, you might be able to now lift the fan slightly up and then drop it out from the bottom. So you'll just have to lift the car so that you have that clearance. You can try that if you don't want to have to drain all of the coolant out of the expansion tank.
Okay, now we're going to put the fan back in, and it just sits down inside these 2 little hooks right there. There's one on that side and one on that side. And we just have the 2 screws to put in. Okay, so we just tightened that radiator support bolt there, and we used our extension for that. And then we tightened down this one as well, so now the radiator is back installed, and we'll just plug it in now, right here where the connector came apart. Okay, so that's plugged back in. Okay, so we just put our hose back onto here, clamped that clamp and slid it up to put it back in place. Now we're just putting our expansion tank back on these here. And in the back, but now we're gonna just lift that one back in there too. Okay, we'll tighten all 3 of those down. Okay, so we just reconnected this line right here and move that hose clamp forward. Now we're going to fill the cooling system, and this is very important so that you don't get any air pockets. And so what we're going to do is we undid this upper radiator hose here. We put the radiator hose back on there, and we're going to pour it in here first, just like this, and that's going to go directly into the radiator, because if you try to only fill this, it will not fill the whole system. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that, but eventually as we fill this, it will start to come out here, and at that point, when you have it full here and full there, you're just going to pop that back on and then tighten it down. Okay, so we're using this as our high point, so as we're pouring this in, you'll notice it filled the expansion tank for us, and it should be coming out here pretty soon. In fact, it looks like it's almost level there. Okay, so we put our cap on there to trap it. As we continue to fill this up, you can see now it's coming out here. So this is full, and that one's full. We're just going to hurry and push this back on. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and let it idle. We're going to turn it to max heat, which is this one. Okay. And that's going to allow the coolant to go through the heater core. Okay, so just start squeezing this. You'll feel the pressure go through as it works some air out. You can have the cap off for the first minute or so, but then you'll put the cap back on to pressurize it. See the bubbles. Okay, so now we're running it, we're pinching on this, forcing any air bubbles out. You're going to let it run, let the water pump do a lot of the work. And you can pour some coolant down in it, and the pressure of that should push it through the system a little more. But you want it to get warm. Okay, go ahead and remove the jack stand, lower the car back down. Okay, we're getting closer to operating temperature here. Everything's looking really good. And so we're gonna drive around the block a few times and keep checking that coolant level.
So thanks for watching. Just make sure you properly burp this and watch that coolant level. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you're able to drop the radiator out the bottom without having to drain the expansion tank, let me know. And thanks for watching.